Okay, for the YouTube folks, in case you're not here on the live stream, this is for you guys later on because this will go up later on. Welcome. We're gonna kind of do a reaction somewhat to reaction slash discussion of the cards that got revealed today from the next Legends of Runeterra set, Cosmic Creation expansion. The final Call Them Out expansion. This will be the last one before a brand new set comes out. So, let's see. I'm gonna watch this thing in its entirety first. Got the Grand Plaza. Demacia got his first landmark. Nice. Captain Arrika. Evershade Stalker. Pesky Specter. Moonlight Affliction. And Solari Sunforger. Targon's Peak. Okay, Targon got another landmark. Okay, let's go over these one by one. So first we have the Grand Plaza. 3 mana Demacia landmark. When an ally is summoned, give it +1/+1 and challenger this round. That sounds really, really strong. That sounds pretty insane, I'm not gonna lie. Would this work in Bannerman style decks or even decks like Scouts? Yes, I would think so. The problem with Scouts though is that usually you want to play Misfortune on turn 3 if you have her. Other Bannerman lists depends. Like this, I think this has competition. This is very good, but there's a lot of 3 mana cards that you do want to play as a Demacia mid-range player on turn 3. So in the case of Scouts is Misfortune, but if you're not doing Misfortune, then other Demacia mid-range decks, you want to play like Fiora or Laurent Protege, worst case scenario. Even Fiora Shen, which I like to call it barrier mid-range, but the common name is Fiora Shen. Might even want to still play River Shaper, so it might be a tough fit for those types of decks. But this is so powerful. Like I think you might just replace your weakest turn 3 play for this. You might just cut it. So maybe you just cut Protege entirely. You stick with stuff like Island Navigator. Yeah, that sounds pretty insane, actually. You play Grand Plaza, turn 4, you play Island Navigator. That just might be, because right now there's 2 different Scout decks. There's the Bannerman style of Scouts, and then there's the non-Bannerman, which runs Island Navigator, and a few more Bilgewater cards since they're not going for an Allegiance anymore. Yeah, this might... If this ends up in Scouts, there's a chance that instead of 2 Scout decks, where it's just going to go down to 1. Like, the Island Navigator list will end up being the superior list over the Bannerman list. And then anyone that plays Scouts will just go to the Navigator list. Because you can Grand Plaza into Navigator, and then Navigator gives you 2 challenger units, which is insane. Yeah, I like this. This is just generally strong for Demacia mid-range decks. It's possible Fiora Shen wants to run this too. I think it'll be more difficult to slot this in. Like to cut something for this. I don't know what you would cut. You probably wouldn't cut another 3 mana card. You'd cut something else that's weaker. Because I don't think you want to cut River Shaper. I think River Shaper is just a little too good in that style of deck. Just because you naturally make barriers and can protect it. 2 units with Challenger, +1/+1 buff and can attack twice. Yup. I mean, assuming they survive. Navigator's probably going to survive. Navigator's a 3/5. If you drop down Plaza and then you Navigator itself's a 3/5 with Scout and Challenger. That's pretty nutty. That'll probably be the best fit for this card. And like we could try and think of other decks that Grand Plaza would fit in, but like they're not gonna go too far outside the whole Demacia mid-range unit heavy style. Like which we've seen already. Even if there are other Demacia mid-range style decks out there that maybe haven't been popularized yet, like they're gonna play similar to what already exists. So I could see like Grand Plaza into Shen. Like if you have a decent, if you had a decent opener on the first 2 rounds, I could see Grand Plaza into Shen. So Shen would have Challenger. He'd be a 4/6, and then you barrier something else up. Shyvana is, ooh, yeah, Shyvana, dragons. Forgot about dragons. 4 mana 6/6 Challenger. Yeah, I forgot about dragons. That might be like the biggest buff. I don't know. Scout still seems like the strongest, but yeah, dragons is this into Shyvana. It's kind of insane. Yeah, I think if you're playing Demacia mid range, you're playing this card. You got to find a way to fit it in. This is definitely one of the better landmarks. Captain Arrika. Now it did show Captain Arrika's ability in the beginning of this video. You guys can't really see. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. We know it's Captain Arrika, 8 mana, 6/6 with spell shield. Has a play skill where you capture a unit or landmark. That's cool. This one's a little strange. I'm not quite as confident on this one because the stats seem a little middling. Like I get that they wanted this to be fairly like costed. So like normally this would be probably what, an 8 mana 8/8 if it had no other abilities. So like spell shield takes away from the stats, and then the play skill also takes away from the stats. The play skill can be countered, which if it's that late in the game, I think this getting countered by something like Deny hurts more than like that Stairs getting countered by Deny, because this is a more powerful effect. Like you kind of want this to go off. The big reason to play it is for the capture ability. Now, if she is able to capture something, she'll be tough to take out because she has spell. Like you can't use removal on her. You have to spend 2 spells to kill her, which very few decks can do. 6/6, a bit underwhelming. Rito values the elite tag. Yeah, true. She is an elite. You know, elites aren't really like a competitive thing, but no, sometimes elites pop off. It's probably not the worst deck you could play in this game. Elites. There are better decks for sure, but I think it is cool. This is like the first card we get that captures a landmark. That's really dope. I don't know if it's gonna see play in any like existing Demacia deck, but maybe Elites wants this. Elites probably. Oh, they have For the Fallen. Like that costs 8, but it doesn't actually cost 8. There's very few scenarios where you're actually gonna pay 8 for the Fallen. So you'd probably run this as like a 1 of, maybe a 2 of. I don't think you'd run it as a 3 of. But yeah, I like her. She's cool. What's her skill called? I'm just curious. It's called Claim. 0 mana burst skill. She claims that. Evershade Stalker. 2 mana, 2/2. Ephemeral, fearsome, can't block. Has Nightfall, create a copy of me in hand. You think this card's broken? It kind of gives me what's that card? Shadow Stalker in Ionia, the 2 mana 3/1 elusive and ephemeral. If she strikes the Nexus, then you create a copy of her in hand, so she doesn't actually die. She basically just goes back to your hand. Like she dies, but not really. Spam these onto your board late game when you need to go wide. Yeah, it could work. I don't know. Like, do Nightfall decks want this? Do they really want this? I guess. This is the only deck I would even consider this card in. What does Nightfall play right now? They play Lunari, Shade Stalker, and Diana. And Mountain Goat. Oh, Mountain Goat's a little too good. Easy Nocturne procs. Yeah, I mean... I don't know if it's easier per se. Because, like, you have to attack with these. The problem is Shade Stalker has elusive and has more health and doesn't die. That's kind of my problem with this card. Even though this technically doesn't die either, Fearsome's not as good as elusive. It just isn't. And the other thing too is you have to spend 2 mana to play the copy as well. So I could see there are situations where this is going to be better than Shade Stalker. But I think there's even more situations where Lunari Shade Stalker is better than this card is. This is from like a Nightfall perspective, but like where else would you play this? Maybe like an ephemeral type of deck? Maybe this fits better in like something like Hecarim. Or something else that's ephemeral focused. This seems like a pretty good way to get Hecarim to level up pretty quickly. But even there, it's like, do you want to spend like your rounds 3, 4, and 5 like playing more of these guys? Depending on like what turn you're attacking in? I don't know. No, it just seems a bit underpowered to me. This could have combo potential too, though. I can't think of any combos right now, but -1 attack for each of these play with Flip Nocturne, push through all Fearsome. Yeah, I could see that. That's a little magical Christmas land, but a little bit. Not like, it's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible. Like Nightfall decks do it. They do it often enough. It doesn't happen all the time, but they do it often enough. With late game, you Nocturne and you plop down a bunch of dudes. The thing with Nocturne is like they don't have to be Nightfall dudes, but I mean, but I see what you're saying, Warbler. That since this thing makes copies, like you just have a never-ending stream of like units you can play. As long as you have the mana for them all, you can just keep playing this card with Nocturne down and just swing in, and they can't block anything. The SI version of Magical Christmas Land. Like it's not actually Magical Christmas Land, but I'm just saying like Nightfall doesn't flip Nocturne all the time, but they do flip Nocturne more often than not. So yeah, I could see a late game scenario where that happens. You Nocturne level 2, flood the board with these, and then they can't block anything, and then you win the game. I'm just saying, to be fair, you could do that with other units as long as you had the hand for it. But this is cool if you don't have the hand for it and you need units. So you just throw these down over and over until you run out of mana. But yeah, I could see it. I think it is good with Nocturne. It is. And there might be some other combo potential too. Pesky Specter. 0 mana, ephemeral, 1/1. Last breath, create 2 copies of me in the enemy deck. Oh, so this is a mess up your opponent's draws. That's what this is. That is kind of annoying. The problem is it goes both ways. Like if you play this card in your deck, you're gonna put this down, it'll die, and then they get 2 Pesky Specters in their deck, and then they can play a Pesky Specter and put Pesky Specters in your deck. Everyone drawing mono Specters. I mean, no one's gonna deck out, so there's that. Unless somebody's playing Maokai. This is annoying. Here's the thing though, if you're going to play this card, it has to be in a deck that would actually benefit from the fact that Either this has ephemeral or this has a last breath ability. Maybe you're fitting this somehow in some type of Hecarim deck. Probably, I don't know if it would fit in the ones that already exist, but maybe in something else. I don't know. Ephemeral decks have always been kind of weird. Like the best ones have been the Hecarim ones with Ionia. But after that, it's just like people get really wacky with ephemeral decks, I feel like. I mean, I definitely have in the past. Like, I've tried, like, back during open beta, I definitely tried Lucian, Shadow Isles, Ephemeral, Shark Chariot, just like other people have. Sometimes no Shark Chariot, sometimes Hecarim, sometimes somebody else, something else. So, I've even done Lucian Thresh. I've tried Thresh with Ephemerals, just to try and get Thresh to flip quickly. I don't know what you would really put this in, other than some type of strange ephemeral deck that would benefit more from having additional Pesky Specters in their deck than their opponent would. That's just what it comes down to. You have to build, if you put these in your deck has to be built in a way to where you benefit from these more than your opponent does. So even when your opponent puts more Specters in your deck, you're fine with it because you want them anyway. So they do cost 0 mana too, so that is a thing. But yeah, I'm thinking Hecarim, Thresh, Kalista, or Lucian if you can make that work. Maybe a combination of some of those champions, because all those champions rely on your units dying. Or in the case of Hecarim, not dying, but attacking with ephemerals. Top deck late game with no hand, concede. Yeah, this one's weird for sure. But I like it. I'm glad that it's gonna be in the game. Like it's just there, like waiting for someone to come up with a strategy with it. All right, Moonlight Affliction. So this is a Targon spell, 5 mana burst spell. Silence 2 enemy units this round. Nightfall. They can't block this round. Oh god. This is what I'm thinking regarding this card. You would think you would put this in a Nightfall deck, but spending 5 mana or more on a spell in like traditional Nightfall, like with Diana Nocturne, is typically too much, even if this is a burst spell, especially like for this effect. So I don't think it actually goes into those Nightfall decks. I think where this could see play is Diana Leona, the Nightfall, where you have Nightfall and Daybreak cards, because that deck's a little bit slower. It plays more. It's built in a way where it wants to play more expensive units, in particular Eclipse Dragon. That's usually where it tops out, is Eclipse Dragon, and Eclipse Dragon has a Daybreak and Nightfall ability. So they play bigger units too. So this would benefit. I think this card benefits that deck more than it benefits the more aggro tempo Nightfall list. Like maybe it could work in Nocturne Diana, maybe, as a way to finish the game. But it's not like that deck doesn't already have finishers. They have Cygnus. You give Cygnus itself and another unit elusive. And as long as your opponent can't block the elusives, you still win. The deck has run Atrocity in the past. Imagine playing a whole Ash deck to get this can't block effect. God, you build your entire deck around Ash and Frostbite. Like, why do that when you can just play this card? Yeah, I mean, it is burst. It can't get countered. That is the other nice thing about it. But yeah, I think low-key this will benefit the Diana Leona decks more than the Diana Nocturne decks. That's my prediction with this. Especially since like the silence 2 enemy units for 1 round is a little underwhelming. Like you pretty much want to always Nightfall this card. No chump blockers, no problem. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I think Diana and Leona will benefit better, because they have bigger units and they play dragons. Well, they play at least one dragon. And they have Robin. Robin's a 5/5. Leona, it's pretty beefy, especially once she levels up. Like, they have solid units. The Daybreak units are solid. And you pair with Diana and Nightfall. And especially since that deck has less Nightfall cards than the Diana Nocturne deck. Because you're not in Shadow Isles. Typically, you're not in Shadow Isles. Like, you can be, but the new ones, the latest versions run Demacia over Shadow Isles. And they go bigger. So I think that's the deck you want to put this in before you do put it in Diana Nocturne. It could work in Diana Nocturne, but like I said, Diana Nocturne already has ways to finish the game. Solari Sunforger. I don't know why I thought this had lower stats the first time I looked at it. Okay, so Solari Sunforger, 4 mana, 5/4. It's in Targon. Daybreak, give me lifesteal this round. Okay. All right. Does Leona want to play this? Probably. Yeah, I think Leona wants to play it. Although, I don't know, like, usually their early game's pretty good. Their early game's pretty solid. Like, they don't struggle against aggro. This just kind of beats aggro up even more than it already is beat up by the Daybreak package. As long as you draw the cards. This is better if, like, you don't have the ideal Daybreak opener. Like, you missed the Solari, you missed your 2-drop, Solari Shield Bearer. Or you missed your Solari Soldier and you took some damage. Or you played Solari Priestess and that lost you too much tempo, so this gets you back on board. Gets you back at parity. Yeah, I think this gets, the Sunforger probably gets played as a 2-of in Leona. I don't think Leona decks necessarily needed this, but it's not a bad card. It's definitely not a bad card at all. This is kind of just icing on the cake for them. It seems fairly generic, which, I mean, it's a Daybreak unit. Most of them are fairly generic. They're pretty straightforward. Generic's probably not the right word. They're pretty straightforward. Like, this card is good. And that's it. There's nothing complicated about it. It just does what it does. Maybe there's a Targon deck that would want to play this that struggles in the early game. I could actually see that. I don't think there's been a Targon deck that struggled in the early game so far, though. Well, I guess Asol? Some Asol decks can struggle in the early game. So maybe they want to play this. If they're not playing Leona, like they just want the Sunforger. That's possible. I could see that. It kind of gives me Radiant Guardian vibes, although this is much easier to activate. It just needs to be the first card you play in a turn. You don't have to get something to die. There might be a better chance that this gets played in non-Daybreak decks, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, I think it has. This would get played in a Targon deck that lacks some early game, so this helps them stabilize against faster decks. Like Leona could play it too, but they don't necessarily need this because their early game is strong. This will be more like for good measure in case I drew bad early, then I have this in the case of Leona. But I think Targon decks that have less of an early game would play this. They're more likely to play this card. Heimer Targon needs this. I don't even know if Heimer Targon needs it. Their early game isn't even that bad. Because I think between the units they play, like they have 2 3-drops. They have Mountain Goat on 2. And then they have stuff like Thermal Beam and Mystic Shot. Like, I don't think they struggle early. Not really. Between their early game removal spells and the early game units. But maybe. Maybe. Stick this in Demacia with the new land. Oh, yeah. With the new Demacia landmark. You get a 4-mana 6/5 Challenger lifesteal. Oh god. That's actually insane. That's so dumb. Targon's Peak. This is the last one. 5-mana landmark. Round start. Reduce the cost of a random card in each player's hand to 0 this round. Oh boy. This seems kind of a meme. I don't know. It seems like a meme. It seems like I don't know. It seems like a meme. I don't know. Cause why would you want to, like, yeah, you get a random card that costs 0, but then they also get one that costs 0. I don't think you ever want to play this. Cause here's the thing. When you play this, your opponent will get to play their card first. Because you're going to play this, then when the next round starts, it'll be... Your opponent will get to... They get the chance to play their card first. It doesn't mean they will, but they just get the chance to. And if it's like a big giant unit, they get to attack with it first. That's what I don't like about this card. That's why I think it's a meme. Play this in your mono brick deck. Peak with Asol, Feel the Rush, Sky's Descent. You just play all the expensive cards. Maybe there's like some really wacky ramp deck that just like plays a bunch of cheap ramp so they can get to Targon's Peak. They drop down Targon's Peak, and then like the rest of their deck is just ridiculous top end that they wouldn't be able to play otherwise. That's basically it. Like that's incredibly greedy. This is so greedy. I think that's what this card is. I still think it's a total meme, but if you wanted to go Greed City, I guess that's the deck you would play this in. Like just some ridiculously greedy version of Asol ramp. That would probably be worse than regular Asol ramp anyway, but you know. Then you still have to figure out like your opponent still gets to basically use the card first. Unless you play this on your defender round. That could work. If you play this on your defender round, then maybe. In that scenario, you would get to, let's say you get a giant unit that's 0 cost. You would actually get to play that unit and attack with it if you want to. So, art feels like Dragon Ball vibe to you? Yeah, it does. It definitely does. That's the it's the Arbiter. Arbiter of the Peak. Standing in the middle there. Opponent plays 0 cost Farron. And they hit you with 2 decimates. GG. Because they actually have the mana for it. Most likely. So they play Farron for 0 and then double decimate you, and then they still have a decimate in hand. Oh, the captain from earlier that eats the Peak. Oh, not Farron. Your girl. Captain Arrika. Yeah, I could see it. That would be funny though. You play Peak and then they play Captain Arrika and eat your Peak. Thanks, bud. Now you only get 1 chance to play your 0 mana card, and after that... Oh wait, is it just for the round? Yeah, it's just for the round. It's not permanent. Today's reveals are interesting, unlike yesterday's. Yeah, I do like today's reveals better. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get a champion, but I do like today's reveals better. They were more interesting, for sure. Yesterday was a meme card review. They weren't that bad. They weren't that bad. Like they were memes because like they buffed weaker archetypes that like people tried and they were bad, or sometimes people don't build decks right. That happens too. Like I think that definitely happened during Rising Tides. We're better now than we were back then as far as building decks goes, but whatever the case, there are archetypes that haven't seen serious competitive play. I think the cards yesterday buffed the like two in particular, Braum Vladimir and Fizz, maybe with Lee Sin. Probably Lee Sin. I think Fizz Lee Sin got buffed yesterday. And so did Braum Vlad definitely got buffed yesterday. Will they be good? We'll see. They haven't been so far, but that doesn't mean they'll never be good. All right. I think I'm done, chat. I think we're gonna jump into some Runeterra games now. But this was fun. Again, a little disappointed that we didn't get a champion reveal today, but what can you do? We still got new cards, and these cards were more interesting overall. And they seem a bit more powerful than the ones we got yesterday. Which I think I personally don't think the cards yesterday were that bad, but they did fit very specific archetypes. And they don't really work outside of those archetypes, outside of those decks. So, yeah. These are more like, some of these can be used in multiple decks. So maybe Captain Arrika and Evershade Stalker. Specter's the weirdest one. Like Sunforger's solid. Some of these are weird and some of these are solid. Like we know they're gonna get played. All right. To the YouTube folks that will see this, by the time you see this, it'll be tomorrow. It'll be the 11th. But if you like what we talked about here, then hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Because just because you sub doesn't mean you're always going to be alerted when my new videos go live, unless you are actively checking your sub box, and even then you might not get all my videos. So notification bell is important. Also, feel free to share the content too, especially to those that think I'm underrated and want me to grow, since that seems to be what I hear. Every once in a while somebody tells me that, bro, you're underrated, you should have more views than you do. Well, the best way to do it is to share the YouTube videos around. Share it with your friends or other social media outlets. That is actually a huge help. Although I understand it is going the extra mile. Like that takes more effort, but that's big, especially if you want your favorite content creators to grow. That's a big way to do it. For the YouTube folks, I'll catch you all next time. For those that are here live on Twitch, I'm gonna play some Runeterra, and I'm gonna be going for Masters rank. We're close. We need a few more games.